My friends, we live in a world where storms rage, trials test us, and burdens weigh us down. People are searching for strength, looking for something or someone to hold on to. And today I tell you, cling to the Lord and He will make you strong. The Bible says in Isaiah 41:10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." My friends, God is calling you today. He is saying, cling to me and I will strengthen you. When the storms of life come crashing down, when the darkness closes in, will you hold on to Him or will you be swept away? There are moments in life when we feel weak, worn out, and exhausted from the battles we face. Moments when we wake up in the morning and before the day even begins, we feel like giving up. The weight of responsibilities, the pressure of expectations, the disappointments of yesterday, and the fear of tomorrow, it all becomes too much. And in those moments when life seems unbearable, we have two choices. We can either collapse under the weight or we can cling to something stronger than ourselves. I want you to picture a child learning to walk. At first they stumble, their little legs wobbling, their steps uncertain. But what do? They reach out, they grab onto their father's hand, and suddenly they can stand. Suddenly they can take another step. Not because they have the strength within themselves, but because they are holding on to someone who is strong enough to support them. That, my friends, is exactly what God does for us. He says, hold on to me and I will carry you through. But here's the problem. Too many of us are trying to stand on our own. Too many of us are relying on our own strength. And we wonder why we keep falling, why we keep breaking, why we feel so lost and overwhelmed. It's because we were never meant to carry this weight alone. Strength is not about how much we can handle by ourselves. Strength is about recognizing that we don't have to do it alone. True strength comes when we cling to God and allow Him to be our support, our foundation, our refuge. Maybe you're sitting here today and you're thinking, but I've tried. I've prayed. I've asked God for help, but I still feel weak. My friend, let me tell you something. Sometimes God doesn't remove the struggle because He wants you to learn how to cling to Him through it. Strength isn't about the absence of hardship. Think about a tree in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain beats down, the branches shake, and yet the tree stands firm. Why? Because its roots go deep. Because underneath the surface, that tree is holding on to something strong. That's how we are meant to live. The world will throw storms at you. You will face heartbreak, loss, betrayal, failure. But if your roots are deep in God, if you are clinging to Him, you will not be uprooted. Some of you have been relying on your own strength for too long, and it's wearing you down. You're trying to fix your problems alone, trying to fight your battles alone, trying to hold everything together by yourself. But God is standing right there saying, let me carry you. Let me be your strength. You see, clinging to God doesn't mean we never feel weak. It doesn't mean we never face struggle. What it means is that even in our weakest moments, we are held up by His strength. The Apostle Paul understood this when he said, when I am weak, then I am strong. 2 Corinthians 12:10. That's the mystery of God's power. The more we let go of our own strength and cling to Him, the stronger we become. I remember hearing a story about a man who went rock climbing. As he climbed higher and higher, he lost his grip and began to fall. But as he fell, he managed to grab onto a rope that was hanging beside him. He held on with everything he had, his hands burning, his muscles trembling, and then something incredible happened. He realized the rope was attached to a safety harness. He had been safe all along. All he had to do was trust in what was already holding him. That's exactly how God works. Sometimes we feel like we're falling, like we're about to lose everything. But when we cling to Him, we realize that we were never really in danger. He had us the entire time. We were just so focused on our struggle that we forgot to trust in His strength. Maybe you're going through a tough season right now. Maybe you're barely holding on. Maybe life has thrown things at you that you never expected, and you don't know if you have the strength to keep going. Let me tell you this. You don't have to do it alone. Cling to God. Hold on to His promises. Let Him be the strength that carries you through. I've seen people who have lost everything, people who have been through tragedies, people who have been betrayed by those they trusted, people who have hit rock bottom, and yet they stand strong, not because they are stronger than the rest of us, but because they made a decision. They decided that instead of holding on to their pain, they would hold on to God. Instead of clinging to their fear, they would cling to faith. You have that same choice today. You can cling to your worries, your past mistakes, your anxieties and your pain, or you can cling to God and find the strength to rise again. The choice is yours. What will you hold on to? Fear and doubt are two of the greatest enemies of faith, and yet they are the things that grip us the hardest. They sneak into our minds in the quiet moments, whispering lies, filling our hearts with anxiety, making us question everything, ourselves, our future, even God. Fear tells us we're not strong enough. Doubt tells us we're not worthy, and together they create a prison that keeps us from stepping into the life God has planned for us. Think about the times fear has held you back. Maybe there was an opportunity in front of you, a dream, a calling, a step forward, but fear whispered, "What if you fail?" So you stayed where you were, stuck, paralyzed by the thought of what could go wrong. Or maybe doubt crept in, saying, "Are you sure this is what God wants for you?" Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you're not ready. And so you hesitated and the opportunity slipped away. Fear and doubt are thieves. They rob you of peace, of joy, of purpose. They keep you awake at night, replaying worst-case scenarios in your mind. They make you believe you have to have everything figured out before you can move forward. But let me tell you something. If you wait until you have all the answers, you will never move. If you wait until you feel completely fearless, you will never take the step. Imagine a young bird sitting on the edge of a branch, looking down at the ground far below. It sees other birds soaring through the sky, and something inside of it longs to fly too. But then fear speaks, "What if I fall? What if my wings aren't strong enough? What if I fail?" And so it stays on the branch, never knowing that it was created to fly. My friend, too many people are living like that bird, sitting on the edge of their dreams, of their calling, of their breakthrough, but refusing to leap because fear has convinced them that falling is the only option. But listen to me. God did not give you a spirit of fear. He gave you a spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Fear is not from Him. Doubt is not from Him. When fear grips your heart, when doubt clouds your mind, that is the enemy trying to keep you from walking in the strength that God has given you. There's a story in the Bible that we all know, the story of Peter walking on water. Think about this moment. The disciples are in a boat in the middle of a storm. The wind is raging, the waves are crashing, and suddenly they see Jesus walking on the water toward them. At first they're terrified, but Jesus calls out, "Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid." And then Peter, bold, impulsive Peter, does something incredible. He says, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." And Jesus says one word, "Come." Now think about what Peter had to overcome in that moment. The storm was still raging, the wind was still howling, the waves were still high, and fear must have been screaming, "You can't do this, this is impossible. What if you sink?" But Peter made a choice. He chose to let go of fear and step out in faith, and the moment he did, the impossible happened. He walked on water. But then something shifted. He took his eyes off Jesus. He started looking at the wind, at the waves, at the storm, and suddenly fear crept back in. Doubt whispered, "What are you doing? You can't do this." And the moment Peter listened to fear, he began to sink. My friend, this is exactly what happens to us. God calls us to step out, to trust Him, to move forward, and for a moment we do. We start the business, we begin the ministry, we pursue the dream, and then the storms come, the obstacles rise up, the voices of fear and doubt get louder. And if we take our eyes off Jesus, if we focus on the waves instead of His word, we start to sink. But here's the good news. The moment Peter cried out, "Lord, save me," Jesus immediately reached out His hand and caught him. He didn't let Peter drown in doubt, and He won't let you drown either. Some of you are in that exact place right now. You stepped out in faith, but now fear is trying to pull you under. Doubt is telling you it's over. But I came to tell you today, keep your eyes on Jesus. Stop looking at the storm. Stop listening to the lies. Stop focusing on what could go wrong and start trusting in the one who has never failed. You may be thinking, but what if I fall? And I ask you, but what if you fly? What if the thing you are afraid of is actually the very thing God is going to use to take you to the next level? What if the storm you're facing is not meant to destroy you, but to strengthen you? What if the only thing standing between you and your breakthrough is the decision to let go of fear and move forward anyway? I know it's not easy. Fear feels real. Doubt feels overwhelming. But I want you to think about the moments in your life when fear won. The times you stayed silent when you should have spoken up. The times you stayed in your comfort zone when you should have stepped out. The times you let fear dictate your decisions instead of faith. Did fear ever bring you peace? Did doubt ever give you joy? No, because they were never meant to. They were meant to keep you bound. But today you can choose differently. You can choose to release fear and hold on to faith. You can choose to silence doubt and believe in the promises of God. You can choose to stop listening to the lies and start walking in the truth, because the truth is this: you are stronger than you think, you are more capable than you believe, and you are not alone. Fear may come, but it does not have to control you. Doubt may whisper, but you do not have to listen. You were made for more. You were made for courage. You were made for faith. And when you finally let go of fear, you will realize that God has been holding you all along. Life is not always calm seas and clear skies. Sometimes the storms come without warning. The winds howl, the rain pours, and suddenly everything you thought was secure begins to shake. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there right now. You're standing in the middle of a storm so fierce you don't know if you'll make it through. But let me tell you something. The strength to survive is not found in avoiding the storm, but in standing firm in the middle of it. Look around this world and you'll see people running from storms. They run from hardship, from responsibility, from pain. They think if they ignore it, it will go away. But life doesn't work like that. The storms will come whether you're ready or not. And the only way to overcome them is to plant your feet and stand firm. Think about a lighthouse standing on the edge of a rocky shore. When the storms roll in, when the waves crash against it, when the winds roar, that lighthouse does not move. It does not break. It does not fall. Why? Because its foundation is strong, because it was built to withstand the storm. That is exactly how God wants you to stand. Unshaken, unmoved, firm in your faith, no matter how fierce the storm may be. But here's the challenge. When the storm hits, it's easy to panic. It's easy to ask, why is this happening to me? It's easy to feel like God has abandoned you. But let me remind you of something. God never promised a life without storms. He never said you wouldn't face hardship. But he did promise this: I will never leave you nor forsake you. That means when the storm comes, you are not alone. I think about Job in the Bible. If anyone faced a storm, it was Job. He lost everything: his family, his wealth, his health. One by one, the things he held dear were stripped away. And if that wasn't enough, his friends came along telling him he must have done something wrong to deserve such suffering. But in the middle of his pain, Job made a decision. He refused to turn away from God. He refused to curse the one who had been his foundation. And because he stood firm, God restored him. Some of you are going through a Job season right now. Maybe you've lost something. Maybe you've lost everything. Maybe the people around you don't understand your pain. Maybe you're wondering if God is still with you. Let me tell you this. If you hold on, if you refuse to give up, if you stand firm, there is restoration on the other side of this storm. I know what you're thinking, but it's hard. I feel weak. I don't know if I can take another hit. I hear you. But let me remind you that your strength does not come from you. It comes from God. He is your rock. He is your refuge. And when you feel like you can't stand anymore, he will hold you up. Think about a palm tree in the middle of a hurricane. The winds come, the storm rages, and that tree bends, it sways, it moves with the wind, but it does not break. Why? Because its roots go deep, because it was designed to withstand the storm. That is what faith does. It roots you so deeply in God that no matter how hard life hits, you may bend, but you will not break. But here's the key. You have to decide to stand. Because when the storm comes, you will face a choice. You can let it knock you down, or you can plant your feet and say, I will not be moved. You can let fear overwhelm you, or you can declare, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. You can let doubt consume you, or you can hold on to the promise that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. There's a reason the enemy attacks you in the storm, because he knows that if he can shake your foundation, if he can get you to give up, then he can stop you from stepping into your purpose. But what he doesn't realize is that the storm is not your end, it's your transformation. The storm is not sent to destroy you, it is sent to strengthen you. Look at any great leader, any strong person of faith, and I promise you, they have been through storm. They have walked through fire. They have faced moments where they wanted to quit, but what separates them from the ones who fall is that they refuse to let the storm define them. Maybe right now you feel like you're in the middle of the biggest battle of your life. Maybe everything feels unstable. Maybe you're wondering if you'll ever see the sun again. But I want you to hear me. This storm is temporary. This season will pass. But how you stand in the storm will determine what's on the other side. So don't run. Don't give up. Don't let the wind and the waves convince you that you are alone. Plant your feet in faith. Hold on to God's promises. Because if you stand firm when the storm passes, you will still be standing. And not just standing, but stronger than you were before. There will be times in life when nothing makes sense. You pray, but heaven seems silent. You try, but nothing works out. You plan, but everything falls apart. And in those moments, it's easy to question God. Where are you? What are you doing? Why is this happening? We've all been there, standing at a crossroads, looking at a situation that seems unfair, confusing, even painful. Maybe you lost a job you desperately needed. Maybe a relationship you thought would last forever suddenly ended. Maybe you were doing everything right, but life still hit you with something unexpected. And in those moments, doubt creeps in. If God is in control, why does my life feel out of control? If he has a plan, why can't I see it? But let me tell you something. Just because you don't understand the plan doesn't mean there isn't one. Just because you can't see how it will work out doesn't mean God isn't working. He's always working, even in the silence, even in the waiting, even in the heartbreak. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He had dreams of greatness, dreams given to him by God. But what happened? His own brothers betrayed him, threw him into a pit and sold him as a slave. He ended up in Egypt, falsely accused of a crime he didn't commit, thrown into prison for years. Do you think Joseph understood what God was doing? Do you think he sat in that prison cell and thought, oh, I see, this is all part of the plan? No, he probably felt abandoned, forgotten, confused. But here's what we know that Joseph didn't. God was setting him up for something greater. If Joseph had never been in Egypt, he wouldn't have become second in command to Pharaoh. If he had never been in prison, he wouldn't have interpreted Pharaoh's dream. If he had never been betrayed, he wouldn't have been in position to save an entire nation, including the very brothers who sold him. Sometimes what looks like rejection is actually redirection. What feels like a setback is really a setup for something greater. The problem is we only see a small piece of the puzzle while God sees the whole picture. Imagine a child watching his father build something. He sees the father hammering nails, cutting pieces, making a mess. The child doesn't understand. It looks chaotic, disorganized, even destructive. But the father knows exactly what he's doing. He has a blueprint. He sees the finished product. And when it's done, the child finally realizes, oh, that's what you were making all along. That's exactly how it is with God. Right now, your life might look like a mess. It might feel like everything is falling apart. But God is building something. He has a blueprint. And if you just trust him, one day you'll look back and say, now I see what you were doing all along. But trust isn't always easy, is it? Because trusting means surrendering. It means letting go of control. And that's hard. We like to have everything figured out. We want to see the roadmap before we take a step, but that's not how faith works. Faith is stepping out even when we don't see the whole path. Faith is saying, God, I don't understand, but I trust you anyway. Look at Abraham. God told him, leave your country, your people, your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. He didn't give him a map. He didn't tell him where he was going. He just said, trust me. And Abraham went. That's faith. That's trust. Maybe you're standing in a place right now where God is asking you to trust him without all the answers. Maybe he's calling you to step out in faith, but you're afraid. Maybe he's telling you to let go of something, but you're holding on too tightly. Maybe you're waiting, praying, hoping, but you're tired of not seeing results. Let me tell you, God has not forgotten you. He is not ignoring you. His timing is not your timing, but his plan is perfect. Think about a GPS. When you enter a destination, you trust that the GPS knows where it's taking you, even when you don't recognize the road. Sometimes it takes you on a route that doesn't make sense. Sometimes it tells you to turn left when you think you should go right. And sometimes you hit traffic, delays, detours. But if you just follow the instructions, eventually you get to where you're supposed to be. That's how it is with God. He sees what you don't. He knows what's ahead. And even when the road doesn't make sense, even when there are detours and delays, if you keep trusting him, he will get you exactly where you need to be. So many people give up too soon because they don't see the full picture. They walk away from the plan before they see the promise. They let frustration rob them of their future. But what if you're closer than you think? What if your breakthrough is just on the other side of your patience? Think about a farmer. He plants seeds, waters them, takes care of them, but for a long time he sees nothing. Days pass, weeks pass, maybe even months, and he might be tempted to think nothing is happening. This isn't working. But underground, beneath the surface, something is happening. The roots are growing, the seed is preparing to break through. And if he just keeps waiting, if he just keeps trusting, one day he will see the harvest. That's where some of you are right now. You've planted the seeds, you've prayed, you've believed, but you're tired of waiting. You don't see any progress, and the enemy is trying to convince you that nothing is happening. But listen to me. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean God isn't working. Beneath the surface, things are shifting. The breakthrough is coming. The promise is still alive. So don't walk away. Don't let fear or doubt talk you out of your destiny. God's plan for you is bigger than you can imagine. His ways are higher. His timing is perfect. And even when you don't understand, he is still in control. Keep trusting, keep believing, because one day you will look back and see that everything, the pain, the waiting, the confusion, was all part of a plan greater than you ever could have dreamed. There will come a time in your life when your own strength isn't enough, when everything you counted on fails, when the weight of the world is too heavy, and no amount of effort, no amount of striving, no amount of willpower can get you through. And in that moment, you will have a choice. Try to fight in your own strength or cling to the cross. The cross is not just a symbol. It is not just an image we wear around our necks or a decoration we place in churches. The cross is power. It is the place where sin was defeated, where death was conquered, where love was poured out in the greatest sacrifice the world has ever seen. The cross is not just something to look at, it is something to hold on to. Because when life knocks you down, when the battle is bigger than you, when the enemy whispers lies that you are too weak, too broken, too far gone, the cross stands as a reminder that you don't have to fight alone, that you don't have to carry this burden alone, that there is a strength greater than your own, a power stronger than any storm, a love that will never fail you. Think about the struggles you face, the moments of doubt, the days when fear grips your heart, the nights when anxiety won't let you sleep, the times when everything you thought was secure begins to crumble. What do you do in those moments? Where do you turn when you don't have the answers? Some people run to temporary fixes. They try to numb the pain with distractions, with habits that only leave them emptier. They try to handle it all on their own. convincing themselves that if they just try harder, they can make it. But sooner or later, their strength runs out, because human strength has limits. Human effort will always fall short. But the cross, it never fails. The cross is the place where the weak find strength, where the broken find healing, where the lost find direction. It is the foundation that cannot be shaken, the anchor that holds firm in the storm. I think about Simon Peter, the disciple who was bold and passionate, but also flawed and human. He swore he would never deny Jesus, that he would stand by his side no matter what. But when the pressure came, when the enemy attacked, fear overtook him. And 3 times he denied the very one he loved. Can you imagine the shame, the regret, the weight of knowing he had failed in the moment that mattered most? But here's the beautiful thing. After Jesus rose from the dead, he didn't come to Peter with condemnation. He didn't come with anger. He came with love, with restoration, with a purpose greater than Peter ever imagined. That's what the cross does. It doesn't just forgive, it restores. It doesn't just wipe away the past, it gives you a new future. No matter how many times you have fallen, no matter how many mistakes you have made, when you cling to the cross, you are never too far gone for God's grace to reach you. Some of you are carrying burdens you were never meant to carry. You're trying to be strong for everyone else, trying to hold everything together, but inside you're exhausted. You feel like you're running on empty. And you keep telling yourself, I have to keep going, I have to figure this out, I have to be strong. But listen to me. You don't have to do this alone. That's why Jesus said, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. He didn't say, figure it out on your own. He didn't say, be strong enough. He said, come to me. When Jesus carried that cross up the hill of Calvary, he wasn't just carrying a piece of wood. He was carrying your pain, your guilt, your shame, your weakness. He took it all upon himself so that you wouldn't have to bear it alone. Imagine a child walking down the road carrying a heavy bag. He struggles under the weight, stumbling, exhausted. And then his father comes along and says, give it to me, I'll carry it for you. But instead of handing it over, the child clings to it, insisting, no, I have to do this myself. That's exactly what so many of us do. We refuse to release our burdens, even when the one who loves us most is reaching out his hand saying, let me carry it for you. Maybe today is the day you let go. Maybe today is the day you stop trying to fight in your own strength and start clinging to the one who has already won the victory. The cross is not just about what happened over 2,000 years ago. It is about what is happening in your life right now. It is about the battle you are facing today, the fears you are struggling with, the weight that feels unbearable. The cross is not just history. It is power, it is hope, it is life. And when you hold on to it, when you refuse to let go, when you plant your feet in the truth that Jesus has already won the victory, you will find a strength you never knew you had. You will find peace in the middle of chaos. You will find hope where there once was despair. So don't let go. No matter how hard the storm rages, no matter how fierce the battle gets, hold onto the cross, because that is where your strength comes from. That is where your victory is won. That is where your story is still being written. You were never meant to do life alone. You were never meant to carry the weight of the world by yourself. From the very beginning, God designed us for connection, for community, for relationships that strengthen, uplift, and encourage. But here's the problem. Too many people are surrounded, yet still feel alone. Too many people are drowning in their struggles, and the people around them aren't lifting them up, but pulling them down. Look around your life. Who are you walking with? Who speaks into your life? Are they pushing you forward, or are they holding you back? Because let me tell you something. The people you surround yourself with will determine the direction of your life. There's a reason why the Bible says bad company corrupts good character, because the people around you shape you, whether you realize it or not. Their words become the voices in your mind. Their habits become the patterns you follow. Their attitudes become the way you see the world. Think about an eagle. An eagle was created to soar, to fly high above the storms. But if that eagle spends too much time on the ground, surrounded by chickens, it will forget how to fly. It will start acting like the chickens, pecking at the dirt instead of rising above it. Some of you have the potential to soar, but you're stuck on the ground because you're surrounded by people who were never meant to go where God is calling you. Let's be real. Some friendships, some relationships, some circles of influence are draining the very life out of you. Instead of lifting you up, they drag you down. Instead of encouraging you, they fill you with doubt. Instead of speaking faith, they speak fear. Have you ever been excited about something? About a dream, a vision, a new opportunity, only to share it with someone who immediately shut it down? That's impossible. You're not good enough. What if you fail? And suddenly that fire inside you starts to fade. That dream starts to feel smaller. That faith starts to shake. This is why you have to be intentional about who you allow in your inner circle. You need people who see the potential in you even when you can't see it in yourself. You need people who will remind you of God's promises when you're ready to give up. You need people who will pray for you, fight for you, and stand with you when the battles of life get tough. Think about Moses. When he was leading the Israelites, there was a moment when he had to hold up his staff during a battle. As long as his arms were raised, the Israelites were winning, but as soon as he got tired and lowered his arms, the enemy started to advance. Moses was strong, but even he had limits. He couldn't do it alone. And that's when two men, Aaron and Hur, came alongside him. They held up his arms when he was too weak to do it himself. And because of them, the battle was won. Who in your life is holding up your arms when you feel weak? Who is standing beside you when you don't have the strength to stand on your own? Some of you are fighting battles alone, and you're losing not because you aren't strong, but because you aren't meant to do it by yourself. You need people who will stand with you, who will hold you accountable, who will push you toward your destiny instead of distracting you from it. But here's the thing. You don't just need to surround yourself with the right people, you also need to be the right person for someone else. Be the friend that strengthens, be the one who encourages, be the one who lifts others up instead of tearing them down. Because life is not just about receiving, it's about giving. Too often we expect to find good people without being willing to be good people ourselves. We pray for strong friendships, but are we being strong friends? We ask God to send us encouragers, but are we being encouragers? Imagine two logs in a fire. As long as they stay close, they burn bright, they stay strong, but the moment one log is separated from the fire, the flame begins to fade, the heat begins to die, and eventually it turns cold. That's exactly what happens in life. When you are connected to people who keep your fire burning, your faith stays strong, your passion stays alive, and your purpose stays clear, but the moment you isolate yourself, the moment you disconnect from the right relationships, the fire inside you starts to fade. This is why the enemy loves isolation, because he knows if he can get you alone, if he can make you feel like no one understands, no one cares, no one is with you, then he can weaken you. But God never called you to walk alone. He called you to be part of a community. Look at Jesus. He was the Son of God, the Savior of the world, yet even he surrounded himself with disciples. He walked with people, built relationships, poured into others. If Jesus needed people around him, how much more do we? Some of you need to start evaluating the voices in your life. If the people around you are constantly filling you with negativity, fear, doubt, then maybe it's time to make a change. Maybe it's time to surround yourself with people who speak life, who build you up, who push you toward the person God has called you to be. And listen, I know it's not always easy. Sometimes walking away from toxic relationships is hard. Sometimes letting go of unhealthy influences is painful. But you have to ask yourself, is this relationship helping me grow, or is it holding me back? Is this friendship pushing me toward my purpose, or is it pulling me away from it? You cannot afford to stay connected to people who are draining the life out of you. You cannot afford to waste your energy on relationships that keep you stuck, because God has too much for you. He has a purpose, a calling, a destiny for your life, And you need people around you who will help you step into it. So choose wisely. Surround yourself with people who strengthen you, who believe in you, who push you toward greatness. And be that kind of person for someone else. Because when we walk together, when we stand together, when we lift each other up, we become unstoppable. There will be moments in life when you feel like you're slipping, like you're barely holding on. Moments when the storm is too strong, the battle is too heavy, and the road ahead is too uncertain. You'll look around and wonder, God, where are you? Have you left me? But let me tell you something. He has never left you. He has never taken his hand off you. And no matter what happens, he never will. Life has a way of testing you. You might be going through a season right now where nothing makes sense. You pray, but the answer hasn't come. You fight, but the victory seems far away. You try to hold on, but your grip is weak, and the enemy whispers, just let go, give up, walk away. God has forgotten. But the enemy is a liar. He wants you to believe that your struggle is the end of your story. He wants you to believe that you are too broken, too far gone, too weak to keep going. But what he doesn't want you to know is this. You may feel like you're losing your grip, but God is still holding on to you. Think about a child walking with his father. He holds on to his father's hand, feeling safe, secure, but then his little fingers start to slip. Maybe he trips, maybe he stumbles, maybe he gets tired and lets go. But what happens? The father doesn't let go. The father grips even tighter. The father holds on, no matter how weak the child's hands become. That is exactly how God holds on to you. Your grip may get weak, your faith may waver, your strength may fail, but his grip never does. Think about Peter. He saw Jesus walking on the water and had the faith to step out of the boat. He was walking toward Jesus, defying the impossible. But then the wind picked up, the waves got stronger, fear crept in, and in that moment he took his eyes off Jesus and started to sink. Can you imagine the panic? The terror of going under, of feeling helpless, of drowning in the very thing he once walked on. But what did Jesus do? Did he let Peter drown? Did he step back and say, you should have had more faith? No. The Bible says immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. Immediately, without hesitation, without delay. That is what God does for you. When you feel like you're sinking, when fear tries to overwhelm you, when life tries to pull you under, he reaches out and catches you. Maybe you're in a place right now where you feel like you're sinking. Maybe the weight of your past is pulling you down. Maybe the pain of disappointment is making you question everything. Maybe the waiting, the unanswered prayers, the silence is making you wonder if God even sees you. But listen, just because you don't see him working doesn't mean he isn't there. Just because you don't feel him near doesn't mean he has left you. He is holding on to you even in the silence. Sometimes we think God's presence is only in the big miraculous moments, the breakthroughs, the victories, the answered prayers. But what if I told you that his presence is even stronger in the waiting, in the struggle, in the moments when you feel like you're barely holding on? Look at Job. He lost everything, his family, his wealth, his health, everything that could have broken a man. He endured, and he could have given up. He could have walked away. But even in his pain, even in his confusion, he clung to God. He refused to let go, and in the end, God restored everything. There is power in holding on. There is power in refusing to give up. Because when you hold on, when you refuse to let go, when you trust that God is still holding on to you even when you don't understand, that's when miracles happen. That's when doors open. That's when you realize that the pain wasn't the end of your story. It was just a chapter. Think about a rope. If you're climbing a mountain and your strength is failing, you might not have the energy to keep pulling yourself up. Your hands might feel weak. Your grip might start slipping. But as long as that rope is anchored to something strong, you will not fall. That rope is your faith. And the anchor is God. He is the rock that never moves, the foundation that never shakes, the Father who never lets go. Maybe you're exhausted. Maybe you're saying, I can't do this anymore. Maybe you've been fighting for so long that you don't know how to keep going. But can I tell you something? You don't have to be strong enough, because he is. You don't have to have all the answers, because He does. You don't have to figure everything out, because He already has. Hold on. Even when it's hard, even when you don't see the way forward, even when everything in you wants to give up, hold on, because He is holding on to you. Life will test you. The storms will come. The battles will rage. The road will get hard. But in those moments when you feel like you have nothing left, when your strength is gone, when your faith is shaken, remember this: God is still holding on to you. You see, the enemy wants you to believe that you are alone. He wants you to think that your struggle is the end of your story. But let me tell you something powerful. The presence of a storm does not mean the absence of God. The waves may crash, the wind may howl, but He is still in control. And He has never lost a battle, not then, not now, not ever. Some of the greatest victories in history were won by those who refused to let go, even when it seemed impossible. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Walt Disney was fired from a job for lacking creativity. Abraham Lincoln lost multiple elections before becoming one of the greatest presidents in history. What do all of these people have in common? They didn't quit. They didn't let go. They held on to the belief that something greater was ahead. And if people in the world can hold on to their dreams despite their struggles, how much more should we as children of God hold on to the one who created us, the one who promised that He will never leave us nor forsake us, the one who has already written the victory before the battle even began. You may be standing in the middle of a storm right now. You may be facing battles no one else knows about. But let me remind you, diamonds are formed under pressure. Gold is purified in fire. Warriors are made in the fight. And you, my friend, were not created to be weak. You were not created to be defeated. You were not created to quit. Remember what Winston Churchill said: success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. You may have fallen, you may have struggled, but you are still here. And as long as you have breath in your lungs, your story is not over. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving forward." And that's exactly what you need to do. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know how everything will work out. You just have to keep holding on. Think about a seed buried deep in the ground. It's in the dark, it's covered in dirt. No one sees it, no one notices it. But beneath the surface, something is happening. Roots are growing, strength is building, and at the right time that seed will break through the ground and become something greater than anyone ever imagined. That's you. You may feel buried, you may feel forgotten, but God is growing something in you. He is preparing you, He is strengthening you, and when the time is right, you will rise. So don't you dare let go. Don't you dare give up. You have come too far. You have fought too hard, and the God who brought you this far is not about to leave you now. Muhammad Ali once said, "Don't count the days, make the days count." This is your moment, this is your time, this is your fight, and God is with you. He has never lost a battle, and if He is holding on to you, you will not lose either. Hold on, because your greatest days are ahead. Hold on, because your story is still being written. Hold on, because the best is yet to come.